bid board meeting to order at 5:01 PM. And roll call, Lindsay, you got it? Okay. Approval of the minutes from August 24th. Did you guys have a chance to look over it and read them? See anything that needs to be changed or corrected?
Motion to approve.
We have
Second.
motion. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. Okay, comments from guests.
Hello, Nick Minnick, City Engineer for City of LaPorte. Just wanted to give an update on the Indiana Avenue project. It's not a city project, but we've been involved through the process quite a bit, and there will be impacts to the bid area with their project. They let the project almost a month ago, which means they're actually going through the contracting phase, and contracts we think will be finalized within the next few weeks. The project's a 2.5-year project, so the area that's in the bid likely will not see construction until 2026. When INDOT's consultants were designing the portion that was in the bid, we shared the pattern book with them and said, we understand that INDOT kind of does what they want to do. And we asked them to try to use the pattern book as a guide. So what they were able to do is some of the sidewalks, a lot of them along Indiana Ave will revert back to concrete, but they'll keep, especially on the carriage walk at the back of the curb, they'll keep the brick banding. They'll have carriage walks with banding. There'll be more green space, and then that green space would be flexibility for us to be able to go back and fully carry out the pattern book in the future. So that's kind of the intent and the goal of what they're doing is get their project done and do as little harm and think forward to what the city can be doing to fully develop per the pattern book. I have some plans here if anybody wants to look at them. They're small, I can email them. But if there's questions, I'm here to answer them.
Is there anything that's going to change as far as that area and what we would be responsible for?
Possibly less things to be responsible for is what we would look at. And then as we, like I said, move forward with pattern book and projects and change things out, likely less plantings in the short term, but we can bring things back as we develop that larger plan and try and get our pattern book to move forward. So. There are going to be some planters removed. They're all salvaged, so they will remove them, but they will salvage them so that we can. And the planters, although the brick will be saved, and then the majority of them are like a concrete mass that, in theory, could be moved to a new location and reused. So trees, and Phil will talk about trees a little bit more in the bid, but trees along Indiana Ave go away. They're really nearing the end of their life, but they do have a planting plan to bring them back to. So INDOT will be replanting trees in this area, and they're more consistent with what we'd like to see long term. I know a lot of the calorie pairs have caused issues.
But really for us, when you're talking like a 2-block
Yeah,
area.
correct. Yep.
And really not even both sides.
Yeah. Well, both sides of Indiana. Couple changes that I really like that we worked closely with INDOT on. So I know on the kind of we'll call it Indiana Deli block, there's kind of a strange step in, and with this project they were able to kind of align everything so the parking lanes are in line and there isn't kind of that step. So everything should be more in line, and there should be less kind of variation in width, and that actually creates a little more landscape space on that block in front of the Exchange Building and Indiana Deli in those areas, which is kind of a nice addition. So. All right. And again, if you have more questions, reach out. Feel free to go through this with anyone, and you can always bring in NDOT, but they're busy, and I thought it'd be nice just to be able to talk to you guys. So, thank you.
I'm Phil Graff, City Forester for LaPorte. I've been working alongside Nick and the rest of the team from the engineering company over the past year or so on the Indiana Avenue project. We cataloged over 160 some odd trees, which about 100 will be removed. And then there's a tree planting plan to replace them after the construction's over. The first two northernmost blocks between Lincoln Way and Maple, I think, fall within the bid. And as Nick mentioned, what's there currently are calorie pears, which is an invasive species and not a suitable species for urban setting, such as this one, with maybe one or two exceptions. So we did attempt to follow the pattern book as close as possible. Where they wanted to put in a tree, I was able to slot in a tree just about everywhere that the pattern book called for one. And we used several species instead of just one, and they were selected from a list of trees that I found to be very hardy for urban settings. Most of them are smaller, lower growing flowering ornamentals that are tough and can deal with poor soils and concrete and heat island effect and pollution and all the challenges that trees have within a bid area like that. So diversity is a big driving principle with us to try to plant more than one species for the future, and then trying to get away from using some of the tried and true, calorie pears and lindens and honey locusts. So that's really all I was prepared for. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have.
Is this just for the area on Indiana Avenue, or is the rest of the bid going to be impacted along Lincoln Way and State Street and Jefferson?
I believe it's just Indiana Avenue. As far as the US 35 project, Indiana Avenue between Indiana and Jefferson, and then again Jefferson and Maple, so the two northernmost blocks.
Okay.
I understand the bid covers more of an area, but just for the US 35 project, it's just those two blocks, I believe.
Okay.
So
If
can you
this-
give them a little bit of an idea of what's going on with the calorie pears elsewhere?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, it's more of the same. The entire bid area is heavily populated with calorie pear, and aside from, again, being a kind of a poor selection, they're at their end of their life. Some of them are already completely dead, and they are, almost all of them are recommended for removal, not necessarily for the Indiana Avenue US 35 program, but for a larger project that we're doing here in the city, which is funded by a grant, where we're going to be doing a lot of tree removal and replacement over the next 3 years. And so I have done a tree planting plan for this fall. There will be 5 subsequent plans for spring and fall of the next 3 years, which is what the grant covers. And I haven't slotted any trees into the bid district for this coming fall tree planting that we're anticipating doing. But in the future, I will be, and it'll be more of the same. I'll just be going through and picking out species that I think can grow well there, and deal with all the urban challenges that we have for trees. But I think it's important to have a little bit different strategy with those trees than you would elsewhere in the city. When we have residential sites with larger parkways that have, the tree lawns that have more grass and more areas for root zones or the roots to be able to go into a root zone, as well as just larger growth spaces that we're looking at. We are targeting larger shade trees there. But in the bid district, I think it's really important to know that it's kind of unrealistic to try to slot a tree in those spots and expect them to live 80 or 100 years, like you might get in a residential neighborhood on a normal tree lawn or parkway. So my strategy has always been to, instead of try to fight those conditions by amending the soil and bringing in different technology that they have, like silvicels, I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but just to plant a quote-unquote temporary tree, so to speak, not necessarily meaning like temporary for 6 months or a year, but just to realize that those trees are going to have probably a 20-year lifespan at best, and always be prepared and budget for replacing them and trying to just keep smaller trees. Because really, again, it's unreasonable to think we're going to get hundreds of years out of those trees, because even if they did, become really healthy, you don't want them to grow large because there isn't the canopy volume there to support a large tree. You start, getting close to the buildings and interfering with traffic and things like that. So those areas are just, I think my strategy is just to keep those areas with, low-growing ornamentals and trees that we can expect to be there for, 15 to 20 years tops.
Which that makes it, would it make it easier then to remove them
Yeah.
as well, which issues that we have as well.
Exactly. Yep. Well, I think it's,
Some give.
yeah, it's really the most cost-effective strategy, in my opinion, to just remove and replace at the 15 to 20 year mark, rather than try to engineer the surrounding area to support a large tree that there's no room for it to get large anyway. So, and then it gets costly to remove, as you're suggesting, so.
How will this transition into the new design for the downtown? Will this be an easy, will these trees stay in place for that, or are we going to have to move them or replace them or anything along those lines in the next, say, 4 or 5 years when that happens, when we do the redesign?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
When we do the redesign in the downtown, will these
Okay.
trees be able to stay where they're at, or are they going to need to be relocated, or do we need a plan for anything like that?
Well, they wouldn't be relocated, in other words, transplanted, dug up and planted elsewhere. I think maybe what I need to look at is when all that's happening, because I think right now, because of the grant funding we have, we're going to be planning heavily over the next 3 years. Now, we're, of course, going to try to secure more grant funding as this goes forward, because if we're successful with this, we can keep the program going. It would be great. But I should probably look at when you're going to redesign other areas outside of, this Indiana Avenue project, and maybe not even slot trees there for a while until we figure it out, so that we're not wasting money planting trees and then having to remove them a year
Right,
later.
that was my concern.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. So I guess I'd need to get involved a little bit and find out when further redesign is anticipated to happen.
And is there a time limit on using the grant funding, I assume?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yeah, which started this summer, basically. So,
Okey-dokey.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay. We have John, we'll try and get settled in, and we will go to maintenance. Yeah, I'm sorry, Amy.
Anyway, I'm under maintenance anyway.
Yeah.
So I do have a couple proposals for you tonight. One is the leaf pickup. We relied on the city to do all the leaf pickup last year, and we had some slight downfalls when it came to snow being on the sidewalks and the leaves not all being completely gone. So I put a proposal together so that we could do what we have done in the past, which is come through and we pick up the leaves and get rid of them. So I do have a proposal for you tonight for that. I don't know what now or? Okay. So basically, we come in and it's $75 a man hour. We come in and we'll pick up the leaves, and we dispose of the leaves ourselves. We don't use the city pile or anything like that. We clean them all up along the curb, get them all off the sidewalks, and then we come along the curb and pick them up. So, sort of like what the city does, it's just that.
What triggers when that's done?
Pardon?
What triggers when that's done? Do we have do we contact you and say we need it done, or is there a schedule?
No, I mean, if you tell me that you want it done, I'm gonna do it accordingly. I'm gonna push it as far as, once I know all the leaves are gone, We'll try to make sure that we coordinate with the city and the street department and trying to get them to get as many of the leaves off, and then more of us doing a final, more cleanup situation. And Mother Nature is unpredictable. I couldn't give you an exact date. I mean, Halloween last year, we had snow on the ground, but then we didn't have any snow the rest of the year. So, you know, we could get snow and then have to come back and clean up leaves. It's just depends on how the leaves fall. But yeah, usually it's somewhere right around mid-November that we'll, I'm trying to be proactive and get it all out there for you.
Approximately how many man-hours would it be?
It depends on how much the city comes through and picks up, but somewhere between bare minimum of probably 12 hours. And then we could be, if we have to come through and do it again, it could be another 12 hours. Because for us to get through all the city streets, it's going to take us at least 12 hours.
Okay, so at a minimum, $900 per go-through.
So I'm looking at
$75 a man-hour. times 12.
$75 a man hour, and then,
So approximately $900 minimum.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
yep. That's my first proposal. My second one, your favorite, is snow. I do have the snow removal contract again. I'm still dealing with all the limitations that or the expectations of scope of work that you have for us. And then I'm looking at $145 an hour. So we typically do anywhere from 12 to 15 hours per snow removal. It just depends on how much snow is on the ground, and it does take a little bit longer. Some of the streets no longer allow us to take our ATV down it because of the way poles have come up and stuff like that. We have to snow blow them with a snow blower, so.
What's,
It is a slight increase over last year. So last year was 140.
what I was gonna ask.
Let's just cross our fingers. We're at a 2-inch threshold. Yep, 2-inch, and then we do the cutouts along only Lincoln Way. And then we don't do any real cutouts on the side streets or anything like that. And then we don't do the entire sidewalk. We do a path that is usually 3, well, depending on how wide the sidewalk is. I can't say that it's a specific, but we don't go from the door to the sidewalk, to the curb on any of the sidewalks.
Some property owners maybe engage you to do the door to the sidewalks?
And if we do, we have a private contract with them.
Right, but that's separated from what you're doing
That's
for us,
not,
clearly.
no, that's a
I
separate,
just
Yeah.
clarifying there's no overlap there.
no, yeah, because they're only getting, from the bid, they only get a width, where when I'm doing it for a private owner, private business, I'm doing it from the curb, from the door to the curb. We'll try to coordinate with the state again, like we have tried in the past, to try to, so that they give us permission to take Lincoln Way snow and push it out into the street, and then they're willing to do it. It's just, every year is a different story with them. It's all how they want to, who you're dealing with, and how much snow they have to deal with. But those are my 2 proposals for you. So, any questions?
We had, oh, sorry, go ahead, Charity.
Yes, I will. Okay, sounds good.
And I would.
We,
Okay.
we had one business owner come in earlier this year. I don't know if we need to address anything about that, or if that's, do you remember?
Yeah, as far as
Ogles.
the amount of cutouts.
When we had the blizzard,
Yeah, that was such a unique,
Oh, yeah, that was awful.
yeah. I mean, obviously, you're doing what you can as far as clearing paths and making, being aware of people having to get from their car or from the street to the buildings. We know you're just cleared a path, and you're working with both the city and with the state, depending on the road, to try to get the actual accumulation cleared off. It's one of those situations you're never gonna make everybody happy, and if you're gonna get an event that big, or
a
snow event that big.
37-inch snow, yeah. There's,
So, no, we try to make sure that fire hydrants are acceptable, or accessible. We try to make sure that the walkway buttons are accessible. We try to make sure that handicap spots or ramps or things like that, those are cleared off. I think you're referring to, like, Michigan Avenue was one of the complaints. You know, they wanted us to, he was asking us to do cutouts on Michigan Avenue, and we've never done cutouts on Michigan Avenue. We do have a little bit more freedom to push out onto the street because it is a city street and working with the street department, but it just depends on,
that was an extraordinary situation, and it was gone within 3 or 4 days completely anyway.
it was, and, you know, I think we were there more before the city was, as far as getting everything taken care of. So when that happens, when we're pushing our stuff towards the edge, when they come through, they could be pushing it right back over. And then we didn't come back in and do, just because they were slow in dealing with everything they had to deal with too, so.
I just wanted to, because it was somebody that came in to just bring that up, and it was nothing with the work that you.
No,
that
they
was
were
it.
asking for cutouts on Michigan
Yeah.
Avenue, and we don't do cutouts on Michigan Avenue because it's not something you've requested. I mean, we can do it if that's what you want us to do. It's just more time that we have to spend out there, and we're on an hourly rate anyway.
I know, but it's, if we do it there, then where do we decide where we're going to and where we're not? So I just wanted to make sure that we had brought it up again.
Yeah,
since
but we will make sure that ramps and,
you guys do an amazing job. We know you take care of our people, so.
thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
Do we want to take action on any of those?
Yeah, that's what I was going to see, if we want to make any type of motion to accept either bid.
I mean, I would hope we have a month before we need the snow removal contract, but the leaf removal, we probably should. 3 months? All right, no, our financial report says we cannot have any snow until December, so we can bill it in January, so.
Right. I've already been told that.
I would have no problem approving both of them, but I think we do need to take action on the leaf if we're gonna go forward with that. Because I don't think waiting till mid-October makes any sense there.
Agreed.
I think it's something that needs to be done. I think we've done it in the past. It's just we shifted last year to rely more on the city. And not that the city can't handle that job, it's just the timing of it. And I know we get some criticism when the leaves start to accumulate and blow around downtown, so I think it's a worthwhile investment to clean it up at $900 or so. I mean, that's, even if we had to do it twice, I'd imagine that's,
Bill could cut all the trees down before October.
the ones that are dead aren't really
Yeah.
creating leaves anyhow,
Yeah.
so. So I'd say I'll make a motion to approve the leaf removal.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then, I mean, as far as the snow removal, while we don't have to do it now, we're probably just delaying the inevitable. So I'll make a motion that we approve the increase from 140 to 145 on the snow removal.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Maintenance? Yeah. 'Cause that was half maintenance.
All right, so before you, I've given you two estimates. The first one for 2,800 is to repair the cap that Robin mentioned at the last meeting right outside here of City Hall. We did receive the check in the amount of $2,800, so I'm just seeking permission to go ahead and move forward with the repair to the cap.
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And then the second one that you have before you is the planter on the corner of Michigan Ave and Lincoln Way that was hit a couple of weeks ago. You see that they are seeking $78.50 to repair or $9.8 to remove. I just wanted to bring this to the board and see if there was some idea of what you guys wanted to do there. We do not have a responsible party, so just keep that in mind.
This is one that kind of sticks out a bit with the parking, the way it's set up. I don't think many cars are going that fast there, but it's right by the courthouse. right?
Correct. Yep. Right across from Zeldin's.
Yep.
I can't recall, but is this a frequently hit planter?
I know of twice that it's been hit.
Over how many years?
3.
There's a few bars in the area. Yeah. But it is also in kind of a high-profile area as far as downtown, right by the courthouse, right by major intersection.
In the scheme of things, in the long-term planning.
So taking it out, we'd just end up with probably a flat concrete pad there. It's not like we'd gain additional parking, but
So Nick just kind of pulled me aside and said that could also be a planting bed. You know, we could move it back a bit from the actual corner so that there's clearance for cars, but we could put something there and plant something.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That would be a great test area for how we're planning on doing it.
That's the only way I wouldn't want to do anything that isn't either take it out, put it back to what it was, or put it to what the long-term plan is.
Right.
One of those 3.
So then my suggestion is that we remove the planter, make it into a planting bed, and the bid needs to be altered for replacement of concrete, because that won't happen.
So with that, though, we would need to make it contingent upon a certain price if we were going to approve that today.
I'd imagine, if they're removing and they're not replacing with concrete, it's gonna be less than a 9,800. So we can approve it, but say that we're not replacing the concrete, we want it to be a plantable green space.
And I can reach out to them if the board wants. I can reach out to them tomorrow and see what that would look like and then send that to you all via email.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then could we just do an email vote on that?
Yeah, that'll work.
What's Nick's thought on what it's going, you're talking about a planting bed, so
I'm gonna let him,
let's let him.
I'm gonna let him tell the story. How about that?
And how that will work in winter.
Yeah. So, looking at that area in particular, it's a very large planter. I don't think the whole area would necessarily need to be a planting bed, but you could move it back and even have maybe a curbed planting bed where it's just 6 inches and not a full planter, and then that would work well for plantings in the spring. I would suggest we can take a look at it and see exactly what portion of that space would make sense to keep a planter. And, try and make it attractive and walkable and match what we're moving towards with the pattern book. So, which there's a combination in the pattern book and.
I realize that.
Yeah, so.
This
we can-
would be the first one that is the combo,
Yep,
so.
yeah.
Now, in the pattern book, there was also the, planter, or the, not planters, but.
More like a billiard.
Yeah.
The
But-
vases.
Yeah, the
Then-
giant vases,
Yeah.
that we were going to possibly put in a few different areas. And so would this be a candidate for that as well, if?
It might be a candidate for that. I think, especially, we don't have a ton of events on Michigan along the courthouse. But maybe even a combination of a planting area and then some movable planters, because maybe they can be used as barriers for events. So an idea like that. So we can look at the alternatives and kind of work within the budget that we have from insurance to repair the damage. So.
Sounds good. So we will put that to an email vote later.
Since there's no responsible party here, though, this is all out of,
So there'll be a deductible that we'll pay,
okay,
and then the rest would be covered with the insurance, but there is a deductible that will have to be paid. And then the last one that I have, and I apologize, I didn't print that one, was the removal of the plant, or the suggestion of the removal of the planter near Flagstar Bank on the corner of Jackson and Lincoln Way. Next to Bon Viet, that planter had been removed prior to. And we were made aware that it was hit on the opposite side. And when I was instructed by staff to ask for removal of that planter because they were under the impression that that was what you guys wanted. Since we didn't have one on the one side, we didn't want one on the other side. So we did receive insurance funds for that removal, but there was never a vote put forth to get it removed. So I'm here to also see if that's something that you still wanted to do, or what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I think just for uniformity's sake, I mean, with the one across the street from it already removed, plus Jackson's used a little more for events, I guess, right? But, yeah, I'd make a motion, we remove it.
We have motion and second to remove. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay.
We already had that on there.
Yeah.
been kind of a happening bid day today. Jamie and I met along with Mayor, to discuss, some of the things that are coming down the pike and, a procedure that we used to be able to do at any point in time, but under the new system, we cannot. Which I got clarified and talked to Courtney for about a half hour today to make sure that we're all on the same page with this going forward. There was a concept called additional appropriations. We have additional cash. We've not been approved to spend it. We go to council, say, we need another 50,000 to take care of whatever. We've done that as late as November meetings, so we could pay things in December. But under the system that we have now, the gateway system, once the 25 budgets are preliminary put in, it's taking the anticipated cash and rolling it with it. So if you go in and pull another appropriation, you screw up your cash, you screw up the 25 budget calculations. So, technology giveth and taketh away. So, we have and all this was in regards to the Rumley project. We have, a expenditure of about, I'm gonna use 33,000, I think it's 32.5, so 33,000 that we were, I think you guys approved at the last meeting that we didn't have funds for, we can't do the additional appropriation, so we're trying to work out a solution, okay? So what the solution, we came up with at this point is to put a third, to go ahead and execute the contract, see if Paul's to take a third down now, and the balance January 10th or upon completion, whichever's later. So if they complete it in December and it's all good, we'll pay them January 10th. If they don't get it done in time before year end, and they get it done February 20th, we'll pay them February 20th. So that's kind of the thought process, so that we can still move forward with that project, being a little sensitive that it is, and still get that part accomplished and handle the financial side. Don't want to speak for Paul's, they don't know about this. We just decided we'd try and make this proposal to them at the meeting earlier this afternoon. So, with that said, I'm going to skip the financials because we have cash. It's the appropriation for maintenance that's the issue. How much money have we already been approved to spend for maintenance? So, on your report, that's the landscape, flip it over, and you get one that's all in caps. And that report shows where we sit right now as we're walking through the meeting tonight. We have unappropriated money for sidewalks and planters. I split that in our map and that totals $14,831. I actually have three now. I only
Can we get that clarified? Is it a proposal?
I spoke to him earlier, and it was supposed to be, I believe it was supposed to be a proposal for that, not actually an invoice for that.
Invoice number 99 due upon receipt.
Yeah, if you could send me a copy of that.
No problem.
Thank you.
So, if we don't, even if we don't have the 7,000 at the moment, and we're at 18,000, we've spent a few thousand already tonight, at least 5,000 to 6,000, with what we approved. So we're down to 12, 5-ish, in that ballpark. That's why I said 3 months on snow. So, rather than just let some other money sit, at the very bottom, we're allowed to transfer from other accounts because they were appropriated monies, but we're not gonna use them for this purpose, we're gonna use them for that purpose. So we're gonna take them out of professional services and run and insurance and other, and then transfer all of that, almost 13,700 up into maintenance. So that would give us, at this point, it'd give us about $32,000 to complete the rest of the year, which we've got, like I said, we've already spent somewhere between 4 and 5 on that tonight. So, you know, a couple of snows and we start to roll down pretty quick, that's unforeseen. So, that's my kind of update on the maintenance account because of what's going on in the dwelling. I was trying to refigure how to get through the rest of the year and still make the roughly thing happen. And it's up to Falls to kind of accept some money down and know they're gonna get the rest, you know, in 2025.
Realizing the wild card of the snow and that we can never predict when a planter is going to get hit or destroyed, do we have any anticipated maintenance expenses that come at the end of the year?
Looks like about $7,000 maybe on soil.
I mean, historically, I mean,
Yeah.
so like
Well,
lights or,
historically, and if something gets hit, usually it's usually about a 60 to 75-day process. So, you know,
But-
with Halloween,
so like electric, when we start putting up the Christmas lights and things like
we
that.
have an issue with that one coming as well, potentially, but that's gonna we need to get a little better numbers. As Jamie and I were talking today, 41 outlets at the top of the poles where we plug in the wreaths need to be addressed. And what we were talking about is
But I thought we took care of that last year.
because of the way because of plugs that are there and the way they were installed back at the beginning, we are going to have a failure rate until we start, like we did last year, properly fixing those outlets. Then we have three main components. Age,
Did the electrical come up in the discussion with the mayor?
No,
Okay.
no.
I do think it's really important, what we've heard in prior meetings, that it was very important that all the ornaments light up in our uniform, so,
We'll see.
We'll see.
Because we'll let the mayor decide on
okay, I
those
just,
other ones.
I just know that was critical, that it was very uniform throughout, so,
Jamie was gonna do a little looking, I'm not pushing more to Jamie, but with our discussion, in that I know that we're responsible for the globes. But, and we're not responsible for the electric going to the pole. So the question is, are we responsible for the electricity within the pole? And I did not think that we were. But, you know, we had been doing them to keep up with the Christmas decor, as that's been part of our responsibility. But given our financial issues coming at us, since we're here at the end of the year, we may need to get a little creative with how that gets taken care of.
And going back to the beginning, part of that is just because of where the city is with the budget process as far as Gateway. Because I know there is something you can do during the budget process where you can do anticipated additional appropriations, but we're past the point where we could get that put in.
We are now.
Okay.
Yes.
Budgets don't have to be approved until the end of October.
I'm not saying, let me.
If we were on our own, I think we could find a way to do it, but I think since we're part of the city's budget,
Yeah.
it's just, you're right.
Yes. And there's and within this new system, it is true, because I even said, well, let me change my 25 budget to, I'm gonna collect 85,000, I expect to have 100, so let me just take the whole damn thing and put it on my budget.
It doesn't like
for 85
that.
next year.
Yeah.
It would do it if it knew that I was gonna have the 100 left. But they've also already processed the 25 in, so changing it now is not an option.
Aren't the polls themselves, didn't we establish before that the polls themselves are also not our responsibility?
The polls are definitely city.
Okay, so the polls are city,
Yep,
the electricity going to the polls is city,
and the globes are ours.
the globes are ours.
But this is the plug
Right.
at the top, which we had in the past taken care of, so the Christmas decor, but I'm not 100% certain that we always had to.
That may be something we have to visit with the city this year if it comes to it, and
Yep.
we don't have the ability to fund it.
Yeah, and I was recalling from the written agreement that we did with Mayor Krovac. And Jamie thinks she saw something that was Morris. So, I'm not sure. But I know that we had double the time with Mayor Krovac, and we actually put the daggone thing in writing at that point as to what our responsibility was for the whole. And I know that when we talked about the globes before, we made sure that we are responsible for globes, but I don't recall anything regarding the electric service at the top of the pole where the flags are. So, we're gonna look that up and find out if it's city, then we can negotiate, because we are responsible for Christmas. But other than that, yeah.
For Christmas, yeah.
It is.
It's a heavy load.
Yeah. So, that's my report on the maintenance appropriation issue we have. What I'm going to, I'll go ahead and do a quick little overview. I didn't get the report for our interest income, nor have I seen where we received the 2,800 on the insurance that Jamie was talking
What have we ever paid out of professional services other than secretary?
It was an old number that we used, and on my report, part-time salary used to be the secretary. Then they moved it down into professional, which is where they also had us with their bid work.
Gotcha.
And now that, I had another discussion with Courtney, we don't do any of that stuff anymore. I would like to, I tried to push it down to maintenance. She's agreed to go ahead and put it down to maintenance going forward. So we will probably, if we need to transfer next year, we will. So.
Right.
Being that we have such a large portion of the city budget, we just don't usually ping the radar too hard,
Right.
so. So I mean, I'll make a motion that we transfer the funds, because that's my responsibility for, as the treasurer, to transfer out of professional, out of insurance, and out of other, the grand total of $13,699 into maintenance.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do what you want about approving the report. Anybody have any questions? Oh, I have two, since we're holding off on
Yeah.
the dirt at the moment. I have 12 invoices from paving and old fields, 6 for watering and planters, August 5th, 7th, 9th, 12th, 21st, September 3rd. Hoping we only have to do one more water.
we're done.
We're done.
Huh?
We're done.
Wonderful. That's even better news. Sorry. $3,118.50 watering. Weekly sidewalk maintenance, 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th of August, 3rd, and today, of September. So that's 3,000, grand total, 6,118.50.
And when does that end? When does that end? The weekly?
Sidewalk maintenance,
Yeah. How long do we carry that through?
last year we went almost all the way up to leaf removal because
Go until we get snow. We've been going until you get snow on the ground.
okay,
So we'll go, there's no, we did it all last year until basically January.
So we need to factor that into our anticipated maintenance expenses the rest of the year.
or at, I mean, I know we wanna keep, we don't wanna stop now.
No, of
But
course.
we may want to take the leaves off end of August or in October. All it, you just have to kinda see where things roll. I think we can make it all the way through, but, I mean, if we don't have snow, which I would rather not have,
You'd rather have a summer maintenance, the sidewalk maintenance than snow.
absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. So, now, 4 weeks of summer maintenance is 1 snow. So, but I think we all agree that we'll wait till January for snow.
Motion to approve the claims?
Motion to approve the claims.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okie dokie, planters, that would be me. In the first week of October is when the plants are scheduled to be removed. And then I will discuss with Pernille's Galore the invoice that they sent John. Ben, that's,
It doesn't make sense they would put soil in there while there's still plants in there.
right, that's, what I was told is that it would be the proposal for,
After.
the extra soil after they remove the plants like they usually would do in previous years.
I need to know if they
Yeah, that's, they have a good idea of how much it would take, but, yeah, we'd have to approve them actually doing the work first, and they'd probably just kind of flip around. Trees.
I really have nothing to add to what Phil kind of covered, other than to say maybe as we're looking forward, working with them as they're replacing, we've got trees that are dead and maybe some ideas, if you want to look around your areas of the bid where it makes sense to prioritize tree replacement, even though we're probably looking at it more of a temporary basis for the next 3 to 5 years. So let's do it. Well planned, but nothing else to report.
Long-term design. Jim's not here. Jamie, do you have anything for long-term design planning? Okie dokie. Do we have any old business we need to address still? Do we have any new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to, pardon? Oh, yes, our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, October 15th, not on Monday like it normally would be because of the holiday. Okay, and then we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.